Hi guys, it's Professor McDonald. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use this grade calculator to figure out what your grade would be today if you didn't complete any more assignments, and also what your grade could be based on future performance. So in order to use this calculator, there's a few things that you need to be aware of. First of all, when you download it from inside Blackboard, you're going to want to enable editing. There's going to be a yellow ribbon somewhere across the top that you have to click enable editing to be able to um, use any of this. Also, you're only going to be able to enter scores into the yellow cells because this is protected. When I try to enter scores anywhere else, it's just not going to let me. The whole thing is protected so that you don't accidentally mess up any of the scores. Also, we have here, let me just show you a real example of a student's grades. That student emailed me and asked me how they were, if they were able to still pass the class at this point. And so actually these were their real scores right here. And so I made this calculator and I'm making this video not only to answer that student's questions, and of course I'm not saying the student's name because this is confidential, but I want to show the student what's possible for them at this point and also let other students see how they can do the same thing with this calculator and figure out what to do to achieve the grade that they want in the class. Another thing to note is that when you look in the gradebook in Blackboard, in the My Grades gradebook, it's going to show you an overall weighted average that is different from what this calculator will give you. And it's different because this calculator is counting any assessments that you haven't done yet as zeros, while the one that's in the gradebook right now is only counting up to assignments that have been due so far. So totally different calculation, well, not totally different calculation, but a different way of calculating the average, where the one in the grade book right now is a running average just based on what we have due so far. And this one is going to be an overall average, including everything all the way to the end of class. So as you can see, with zeros for test 3, test 4, and the final exam at this point, the student's grade is a 33.54%, while the grade that they will see in the grade book on Blackboard will appear higher since these will not be counted as zeros yet. Now, when you start calculating, trying to figure this out, go into your grade book in Blackboard and look for these items so that you can extract the score. So it'll probably just say homework average. I can't type. Homework average, quiz average, and pre-class passport average for due assignments so far. That's what these are so far. And then your test 1, test 2 with extra credit, you can pull all those scores out and put them into the spreadsheet and use those to estimate where your grade is as of today for the entire course. Now, I want to know if I can still pass the class with these scores, right? So I have to think about what I could do on my future tests. Now, assuming that my homework average doesn't go up, because it could, right? So far, you could work on some assignments late, but the late penalty might make it kind of not that effective for increasing your overall average, but there's still room to do some late assignments, and you have still future assignments to do, which you could just really work hard to make sure you get close to 100% on all of those, both for your homework and your quizzes. There's some room to grow there. But assuming that those stay the same, what would I have to get on these remaining tests in order to pass the class? And also notice that your overall average of your test scores does allow for the final exam to replace. So these are your 4-unit tests. And whichever one is the lowest, your final exam can replace that score as far as calculating your unit test average. So that's what this box is for. It's going to pull over the top 4 tests out of all of these and use that as your unit test average. And your unit test average is 40% of the grade. And then the final exam on its own is 20% of the grade. Okay, so we calculate the average, allowing for the final exam to be used as one of those top 4 test scores, right? So notice that if I put in a 75 for my final exam, now it is pulling my 75 for the final exam as my top unit test, and it is also using my other 2 tests as the next 2 highest scores out of all of those 5 test categories. All right, now, if I want to, I can start by saying, okay, well, what if I got, like, what's the best possible case scenario right now? If I got 100% on all of my remaining tests, then I would have an A in the class, or I'm sorry, a C in the class. Here's your course grade. Okay, so now you know that you would have a C in the class if you could just get a perfect score on all your remaining tests. Now, I'm sure that sounds a little ambitious. So then you might be interested in saying, well, what if I brought up my test scores, my homework average a bit and my quiz average a bit? Maybe I wouldn't need to get 100% all of these. You can play with it, right? But let's just stick with assuming that these stay the same. And now I'm going to say, okay, well, I don't know if I can get 100, but maybe I could get A's on everything, at least a low A. Then I'm in the C range. Okay, what if I got all B's, low B on everything? I'm still in the C range. Okay, so that's encouraging. I mean, a B is definitely more doable. But what if you said, well, the final exam is cumulative. I'm not so sure I can get a B on the final exam. So if you put a 60 in there, now notice that's still higher than your lowest test score. So that's helpful because it's going to get rid of that 25%. But it's with only a 60 on the final exam and 80s on the 2 other tests, we're just not even close enough to pass with a C. So I then say, well, then can I at least do better on my 2 unit tests and see a grade of almost C? And then you say, well, maybe I can bring my homework average up to like a 50%. And maybe or maybe let's say both of them a 60%, right? So now you can see I'm in the C range, right? So this is really great just for looking at the areas that you can improve and just figuring out what to shoot for in those areas and give you a realistic idea of what is possible for you from this point on. So if you have any questions about this, try it out. You can send it to me if you want to send me a screenshot of what you have. If you're not sure you're doing it right, or if you have a question about it, you can always email me, come to my office hours. I'm here for you. But this should help you to be able to figure out a lot of it on your own. And then as things change throughout the course, you can always come back to this and play with it some more. So I hope you find it helpful, and I will see you around. Bye.